What's up, everybody? Welcome, I think, to another edition of PGA Grinders Live After Dark. Going old school tonight. They're having some technical problems at the RG offices in Nashville, so we are kicking it in Google Hangouts tonight, and hopefully this starts up okay, and you'll get a chance to see the video on air. The four of you that are watching live in the chat, give me a 1 or a 2 or a hip hip hooray or something to let me know that the video is working okay. The rest of you that are watching later, you don't have to worry about the live problems. But I think Gibb and Brian are here with me. Gibb, are you present and accounted for?
I am accounted for. I am present too.
Fair enough. And Mr. Devonshire, are you... Where are you? Look like you're coming to us from a familiar location today.
Yes, here I am. I am at home. I am out of my hockey uniform and into my golf uniform, ready to talk about some golf. Pretty interesting little contest we got this week, don't you think?
Yeah, a nice top-heavy payout over there on DraftKings for their big $20 tournament. What, $50K to first place. Interesting payout structure, but nice to have some big GPPs with the NBA on the All-Star break. Everyone itching for some daily fantasy action, so some nicely sized golf tournaments. The big $300 entry has a larger entry limit, or 555 entrants, something like that. That's the biggest I've seen since the last major. So nice to see the big prize pools. And Brian, we could be throwing some more entries at those big prize pools if we would have stuck to our guns a little bit more on Mr. Vaughn Taylor last week, but the ever-elusive lack of injury news was a little bit concerning, and unfortunately for us, we had to pull back just a little bit on that trigger.
Yeah, I didn't pull the trigger at all. I'm so bummed about that, man. Like, he was in the very first lineup I made, but all the research that I did on Wednesday evening just led me to being off of him. He was like 4 over par, like 2/3 of the way through the round when he finally decided to withdraw. So
the week before, yeah.
I liked Ryan Ruffles, and he made the cut and had a nice showing, but he certainly didn't win. But he had a stand bag out there, and I heard the reason that he had the stand bag was because he didn't want to carry around too heavy of a bag and pay extra for the 50-pound fee on this flight down to the event he withdrew from.
Weird. I didn't even pay attention to that. Of course, half of the broadcasts are them talking to the amateurs or the celebrities or whatever you got going on there, and they didn't show a whole lot of his rounds because, come Saturday morning, he really wasn't up there, and then he shot up the leaderboard Saturday, played pretty well, and then Sunday, he was still 6 strokes behind, I think, going into Sunday, and managed to win the tournament. So, kudos to Vaughn Taylor. If anything was actually ailing him when he withdrew from that tournament, I'm sure the $1.36 million that he won last weekend, along with the invite to the Masters, will help him feel a little bit better. Gibb, what's been on your mind the last week since we've last been together?
I'm so glad that the silly season is over and we can get back to real golf. One course.
I knew you were itching to say that. Just one course this week.
One course. Top 70 in ties. No amateurs. No 6-hour rounds. And yes, for those in the chat, I am in a karate dojo right now.
You've got the mystery goods hiding behind that little screen there.
I got so much crap behind the screen. You don't want to see it, people. You don't want to see the mess behind me.
What is it, like punching bags and like nunchucks and like throwing stars and stuff?
Pretty much. I don't want to really, secret identity superhero stuff, guys. So, yeah. You don't want to see what's behind here. Bodies, yes. Mo flavors. Bodies are behind me.
Bodies, yes.
I am in a basement, and this building was built on a burial ground. So literally, there are bodies behind these walls. I kid you not. So, yeah. Seriously, there is.
My favorite part of the NBA All-Star break is that chat talks to us.
Yeah, nobody's talking hoops. Nobody's got 2 fouls in the last 5 minutes. Nobody just missed a layup off of an easy fast break. The people either just aren't here or they're talking golf, maybe a little hockey here or there. But people are chatting about golf. We'll take your questions.
Yeah.
Live on the air, we'll take questions.
First.
Normally we don't get enough volume, or I just can't keep track of the chat. We'll take questions. Feel free. Throw them out at any time. We can actually take some questions tonight. Maybe wait a little bit. Anyway, we got a late start tonight with a tech problem, so we'll get into the golfers this week. As Gibb mentioned, a real tournament, a real golf course, a tough event. This ranked as the hardest par 71 on tour last year. 6 under was the winning score in a three-way playoff. James Hahn won the tournament last year, so this is no cakewalk in the park. You're not going to see the winning scores like we've seen 20 under, 22 under some of these events. You're just not going to see that this week. Now, that score last year was a little bit worse than usual. Usually you'll see guys maybe get into double figures a little bit, at least for the winning score, but the cut tends to be a few strokes over par here. So par is a good score on a lot of holes on this course. You see a lot of long par 4s here between that 450, 500-yard mark, so it's going to be interesting attacking this tournament. These tend to be the events where maybe the cream rises to the top a little bit more, and Gibb, I know you've talked about this on a few of the previous shows. Is this a week finally where these 10K plus golfers finally see the benefit? I mean, really, a lot of these guys have disappointed for the better part of the last couple months now.
Yeah, I mean, again, last week, the 10K players, apart from Phil and maybe Justin, they somewhat didn't hit value. You know, there was Walker and Day who had 11th. Jordan Spieth at 21st, he didn't really reach value, and let's not go with Dustin or Bubba because they were even worse. So, there are some years where the top players don't actually perform well. I mean, the year that Martin Keimer won the Players, I solely picked him for the Players because he wasn't in the top 50 in the world, and it seemed like that year everything was going towards the whole, hey, the top players aren't really performing. So it does happen from year to year where some of the top players in the world, they just don't step up, and you find some of these less ranked players in the world stepping up. So it could be another year like that.
We've lost Devo. I think he posted in the chat that.
Yeah, he said earlier that Google Hangouts sucks up his bandwidth, so he might be a no-show for this one.
It's the bodies. Now I've got feedback for some reason. I don't know if that's because of him, but I can hear myself, which is throwing me off a little bit. But hopefully he can make it back. I think it's maybe because he's still. I don't even know if I have the ability to kick him out of this or not. But anyway, we'll forge ahead without him for now. The poor. Do you still see him as? There he goes.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. He's ran off. Anyway, we're down to 2. We're down to two souls here. It's the dead bodies behind Gibb's curtain that are cursing the show tonight.
Yes.
All right, Gibb. Let's start at the top here with the McIlroys and the Spieths of the world. First start on U.S. soil in a while for Rory. He's obviously in a class up there with the top guys, but to me, especially without the value guys down there in that 5K range on DraftKings, it's really tough to fit Rory or Spieth into a lineup because they're so much more expensive than everyone else.
Well, I mean, like I said last week, I was watching the European tour and some of those overseas tours last couple of weeks, and he didn't look like he was comfortable. I mean, he was cussing a lot during his putting, and lo and behold, his putting let him down last week. So he came back just like he did the Singapore Open. If it wasn't for the 66 that he opened in the final round of the Singapore Open, we would be talking about Jordan Spieth, not doing as good, not coming second at the Singapore Open like he did. And same can be said for Pebble Beach. It took the 4th round for him to actually step up and actually come into some sort of relevance. So it's hard to say, hey, let's go all out in Jordan Spieth when, for the last 2 tournaments he's had 3 rounds of crap, and then his 4th round is what boosts him up the leaderboard. So Uh, Rory could be a good GPP hit because people who fear first-timers at a course will be away from him, and if you can fit, Rory into a team that you like, then why not? It's a shot in the dark. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely a good GPP play. I mean, I think he's going to be under-owned because of that price tag. Do we have you back, Devo?
I am back. My Surface Pro is overheated thanks to Hangouts. Did it again, but I opened the cold mountain air, so that should help things out there.
Well, don't sacrifice your technology just for one show. If you have to dart out, feel free. We're just talking about the price difference between those two highest priced golfers at the top. Of course, Rory and Jordan Spieth, just so much more expensive than everyone else, just makes it pretty hard to fit them into a nice cash game lineup this week. So I think you'll see a lot of people off of them just because of that hefty price tag.
Yeah, if a bunch of people are going to be off of them, that has me interested in them. I loved fading Spieth and DJ last week because I knew they were going to be super popular. The problem is finding the value on the bottom end for me to fit in either one of those guys, and who's going to be more popular? Is it going to be Spieth or Rory, and what is their ownership going to be? But the thing is, with this course being tougher and scoring being low, you really need to pick the winner of the tournament to win a GPP this week. And with such a quality field, I mean, we're just Jason Day away from a major here. I think that one of these cream members will rise to the top.
7th place was the first player who had James Hahn last year. In terms of people who won the GPP, at least the GPP that I was in, James Hahn, who won it, he came 7th.
Wow.
To be fair, though, not a lot of people probably had James Hahn.
Well, they didn't read my article last year. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I mean, it's an interesting take because in general, the scoring fantasy-wise will be lower here than in a lot of the other events, to where the bonus points for winning, in theory, are more valuable at this event because they would be a larger component of your total score than in an event like some of the ones in Hawaii, for example. Another interesting aspect of this tournament is not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 years in a row, this tournament has ranked the hardest on tour in putting from 3 feet and in. Whether that means anything from a fantasy perspective, can you predict guys who are going to miss 3-foot putts? Justin Rose, maybe. Adam Scott, maybe. Guys like that. Keegan Bradley with the short putter this year. There were 72 misses from inside of 3 feet at this tournament last year. None of the other courses that have shot link data on the PGA Tour had more than 46 misses from inside of 3 feet. 72 of them here. So for whatever reason, the greens, especially on short putts, I mean, this course is also ranked very hard in that 5 to 10 foot range as well. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about taking a guy, a poor putter this week. That has me a little bit worried. Now, is putting the most important stat here? Probably not. You need guys that are going to be able to get it from tee to green consistently. A lot of people are placing emphasis on driving distance this week, but it is interesting to see how many short putts are missed at this event, and I can see people getting frustrated right off the top when their DFS guy misses a 3-foot putt on Thursday, and that's their first hole of the week. So food for thought. Brian, I know you like to dig into those stats a little bit. Anything sticking out to you this week?
Yeah, that first hole actually gives up some of the most eagles of any hole on the PGA Tour. It's only just a straightaway 500-yard par 5. So I mean, everybody's going to be hitting, on the green in 2. So there's going to be a lot of points made there. And if you bogey that hole, you're going to be on tilt.
First hole.
But yeah, it has something to do with those Poana greens, right? Same greens they had in Chambers Bay, and apparently they're just really difficult to putt on. So does that mean putting is less important this week?
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could certainly make that argument as well. If you've got guys who are good putters missing 3-footers, I'd have to dig into that data a little bit more. I haven't, but Lots of missed putts here, I guess, is basically the gist of it, and lots of missed short putts. So the guys who are knocking in those 6 to 8 footers all week certainly going to be at a big advantage over the field. But yeah, it is the Poa annua greens, and maybe they get a little bit of a weird roll here and there, and certainly I don't think you're going to see the circus here that you saw at Chambers Bay that everyone was complaining about with how fast the course was. But Gibb, what are your thoughts kind of on the flat stick guys this week?
I'll go one step further. It is the hardest course on tour last year from 10 feet and inside 10 feet, just in general. The second hardest last year was the Friars at Silverado, and rounding out, not rounding out the top 10, but Torrey Pines and Pebble Beach were 10th and 11th. And they are also Poa annua greens. So out of the last year, the top 11 courses, Riviera was number 1, Silverado was number 2, and then 10th and 11th was actually Torrey Pines and Pebble Beach, which means California is pretty much one of the hardest areas to putt in terms of California Poa annua greens. So, and Riviera was the hardest course on tour last year in terms of non-majors and events that didn't have high winds like the Valero, Texas. So it was the 5th hardest tournament last year, discounting 2 courses from the U.S. Open. They considered those 2 different courses. The PGA Championship was another one ahead of it, and then the Valero, which had high winds, as we all remember, and then Riviera was rounding out the top 5. So it was a bastard last year.
Yeah, it was really tough scoring conditions last year. Jordan Spieth managed to put together some. I think he was the guy that the only guy that had all 4 rounds under par, but didn't necessarily do much with them. I think he was one under every day or something close to that. So it's a tough course, and I do think we'll see these top guys rise this week. So outside of those top 2, you've got guys like Dustin Johnson, Hideki, Justin Rose, Jimmy Walker, who's been playing pretty well, Bubba, Sergio, lots of golfers over 10K. Like you said earlier, we're only Jason Day away from having a major here. And Brian, I guess of these other elite golfers in the field this week above 10K here, who's standing out to you the most of the group?
There's 3 of them I'm interested in. Justin Rose, I think, can go both ways for GPPs or cash. The 10.8K, I don't mind that price tag very much. I think ownership will still be pretty low on him. He was only like 7% at Pebble Beach, and it's not like he won the tournament or anything. I like Bubba Watson a lot at 10.4K. You need to have distance off the tee on this course here, and you need to gain strokes tee to green. Bubba does both of those things excellently. And with a bunch of these dogleg rights, they're really going to favor the left-handed drivers of the ball that can just get the maximum distance with the proper shot shape for these fairways. So Bubba, after barely missing the cut, he missed day 4. He got a little condolence paycheck, but he wasn't able to play on Sunday. So anybody who rostered him is going to feel pretty disappointed with his finish. He was only 7% owned last week. I expect him to be slightly more owned this week because he does have good course history here. This is, we all know that there are courses that Bubba likes, and there are courses that Bubba doesn't like. And last week was not a course that Bubba likes. He was talked into it by Mark Wahlberg, and he almost played better than Bubba did. But
he almost got an ace.
Yeah. Yes, he did. That was so close. And so Bubba's course history is great. I think it'll bring up his ownership a little bit, but I still think he's probably my favorite play out of the bunch there. And then Sergio Garcia at 10.1K. I think he makes an excellent cash game play here. He's got good course history, and he's a consistent golfer. Everybody says he can't win, but he sure makes a lot of cuts and posts some nice top 10 finishes 3 out of 5 tries on this course.
And he had a chance at it last year and kind of unraveled a little bit down the stretch. Not unlike anything Sergio has done before, of course, but yeah, I agree. Another guy that's got some strong course history there. Gibb, anybody else that you kind of like in this top range here?
For Rory, Dustin, Hideki, or Sergio. I don't particularly want Rose, Walker, or Watson this week. Watson, out of all the people who above 10K, he has the worst. He has a win, but his made cut percentage at this tournament is 55.6%, which is the lowest out of all the people above 10K and above. He's had great history the last 2 years, but he's also had he's had a lot of miscuts here as well. So I think it's a feast or famine with Bubba Watson, and I'm glad that he's not 14K like he was last year. So it's
like we talked about last week with Walker and Jason Day being 17K or whatever they were in terms of pricing.
So, Rose and Walker, they've made 8 cuts out of 9 trips here, but you know what? Same as Matt Kuchar at 8,600. So what's the difference between taking Matt Kuchar versus the other two when all three of them have the same course history and one's 2,000 cheaper?
All right, I'm going to take my basket. Say I've got a basket here, and I've got some eggs. I'm going to take the proverbial eggs and put them in the proverbial basket and say, this is the week that I'm finally going to peg Charles Schwartzel correctly. We never talk well about the South Africans on this show. We've gotten some flack for not liking Oosthuizen and Schwartzel in the past. I'm putting the eggs in the basket. I think this is a week for Charles Schwartzel to get a PGA Tour win. He's coming off an 8-shot victory in his native South Africa last week, admittedly in a terrible field. But last year he did not play that event in South Africa, and then he came here to the Northern Trust and did terrible. The 2 previous years he had played in South Africa before this event, and he finished 5th and 4th here. So for whatever reason, the travel doesn't seem to bother him. It is a small sample size, but he's playing good golf right now. I cannot fathom paying 9.6K for Charles Schwartzel, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think Charles Schwartzel gets a PGA Tour win this week. I'm going out on the island and saying for one time, I like a South African on the Grinders Live PGA After Dark show. He's in my video this week. I can't imagine this going up in flames. It's all going to work out so well. Gibb, are you with me? Is it Charles Schwartzel week?
I'm nervous now. I mean,
Yes,
you're going out a limb. So I'm nervous, mate. I'm nervous.
All the eggs, all the cojones are in the basket this week with Schwartzel.
Is this John Bone 2.0?
This could go down in flames. We could, in any event, it will be fun. It'll be fun to follow. I'll have some Charles Schwartzel teams. I guarantee it, unless he withdraws before Thursday, so I can tilt with everyone when they take Schwartzel. I can't believe he's 9,600. I was literally disappointed when that came out. I was hoping he was in the 8K range. I'd have felt a little more comfortable. But look, I can't back down now. I can't. I just can't do it. So Schwartzel's the man for me this week.
He was 9-3 last year.
What's that?
He was 9-3 last year, so it's not like it's too much.
Yeah, but he was coming off a 4th and a 5th in this event the 2 years before, and he didn't. Where did he finish last year?
41st.
Yeah, so I was kind of hoping, but hey, he's been playing pretty well overseas.
Okay, so if Pona Greens is the devil to most PGA players, South Africa has a lot of Pona Greens, and it's his home course, I think, has Pona Greens too.
It's all coming together, man.
Yeah, I mean, so he's used to playing on this grass type. So yeah, I don't mind him. I think I recommended him last year as well, and I do have him as an other player in my article this week. So I can't say that I'm off the Charles Schwartzel. I haven't put my lineups together, but I was thinking about going.
Well, he's hedging already, Brian. It's okay. You can talk me off the ledge. I still have to do it just because I've said this with so much conviction that I certainly won't put him in 100% of my lineups. If you're a multiple lineup guy, this is my disclaimer. Do not go 100% on Schwartzel. That is not advised. But
this is the same ledge that had Vaughn Taylor last week, so it's a pretty good ledge, currently speaking.
Well, the ledge crumbled a little bit when we found out about the withdrawal. Anyway, if there's a setup for Schwartzel to succeed, this will be it. I'm interested at that price point to see how popular he is because how many people know about his victory last week? How much influence do we really have, or how much influence do some of the other DFS articles and podcasts have? Who knows? I just know that if this were the end of last season, Schwartzel at 9,600, he'd be 1% owned this week. But I don't know. When you consider his recent form and that he has had some success at this event, is this just a total pass for you, Brian? Am I totally insane here? Or?
Well, it's all going to come down to ownership percentage for me. I've never heard so much conviction out of you before.
Oh, I
know.
It's just part of the shtick for this week. I've got.
No way. This is totally a unique tout, man. Like you've got my attention, and I'm looking at him. He's 12th in under par 5 breaking. Birdies are better. I think par 5 scoring is a big deal here. I think that the majority of your winning score is going to come from the par 5s. He gains strokes tee to green. He hits it 300 yards off the tee. He's a links player. He knows these Poana greens, as Gibb said.
The putting is sometimes in, but if we're saying
that horrendous putter, though, I will give him that.
No, he's not horrendous. Like he's a PGA Tour card holder. Like he's good at putting. There's so much variance in putting. Like I want a lucky putter, not a good putter.
Oh yeah, anyone could heat it up. I mean, what is it? Lucas Glover, right? Didn't he win a U.S. Open? And he's a shite putter.
So what is Charles' ownership going to be?
Well,
super high now because I've said this with so much conviction.
This is going to be the barometer of the STL following.
Maybe I'm going to say it. I've said it with so much conviction that everyone thinks he's going to be super popular that nobody plays him.
Reminds me of Trey Mason.
Let's not go there. This is a golf show. Football season is over. All right, that's way too much airtime for Schwartzel, though he is an interesting player.
I think I've driven up some Charles Schwartzel airtime in my past, so it's fair that you do it too.
We're even now, yeah. We're good. I promise, if this doesn't go well, I will refrain from hammering home the requirement to play Charles Schwartzel in the coming weeks. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It'll be a fun week. Outside of Mr. Schwartzel, there are quite a few other decent golfers here in the 8 to 9K range. Ryan, any names that stick out to you there besides the guy that I've schmoozed over here for the last 10 minutes?
JB Holmes at 9.8K is coming in with really nice form, and he can smash the ball a long ways. I think he'll be a little bit popular. I'll probably be avoiding him, especially because I like the guys slightly more expensive than him a bit more. Adam Scott comes up high on my list, and he scares the hell out of me. He's got nice course history here, but it's also from echoes of a golfer in the past, really. Again, I'd just rather pay up for one of those 10K guys. He hasn't been golfing much lately. He might have trouble with the non-anchored putter. And, yeah, there's a lot of guys in the 8K range that I'm interested in targeting as well. So nothing really excites me in this 9K range.
Scott needs to look at Bernard Langer. Langer is a long putter, and he changed his form from non-anchoring long putting to he's instead of having it anchored next to that, he's just doing the sweep through. That might be something in which Scott needs to pay attention to, because that could help him out if his short putting game doesn't work out. So Bernard Langer is sort of paving the way for long putters in long putting traditional form. So that's neither here or there for this tournament, but that's something that Scott may be looking at. So I don't particularly like him too well. Like Devo said, he's sort of a ghost of Christmas past type setup with his course history, since he's now in a short putter. I like Paul Casey and Matt Kuchar, as I've already alluded to with Kuchar. Was it Bosmani has already alluded that Kuchar is boring, but at the same time, if he has the same course history as, say, a Justin Rose, both of them the average finishing position is 46th in their history at this course. So, if they have the same sort of course history, Kuchar doesn't really have the 6th place coming into this tournament, but his recent form isn't that bad, and I think they're very similar in talent, so why not go 2K cheaper and get them all well balanced? I love Paul Casey at this price as well. You can get Kuchar, Casey, and maybe Sergio in the same team together. You're looking at a very good anchor right there.
And I think both Casey and Kuchar are going to be popular. People love taking Matt Kuchar, whether it's for his consistency, whatever the case may be. And people see Matt Kuchar at 8.6K, and he's just going to be a lock and load for a lot of people. And that's, where you get to the interesting GPP discussion. What do you think for an ownership percentage for Matt Kuchar this week, Brian? Like 40? I'll throw 40 out there.
Wow, 40?
Is that too? It could be way too high. I don't know.
I'd say 20.
But people love taking Matt Kuchar. Like, you'll see him 20-25% in a tournament, even when he was around 10K. The first thing I saw was Matt Kuchar at 8,600, and I'm thinking, well, he's going to be about 40% owned. Maybe not that much, but because there are other golfers in this range, like Casey, Justin Thomas, guys like that, I think he's going to be super popular.
Wow. Well, he's a must-fade then for me in GPPs. I was already off of him on GPPs just because he's so consistent that he's, an elite cash game play to me, not so much a GPP play. I mean, he makes the cut a bunch, but he, has 0 top 10 finishes on this course. And I'm going to pivot down to Justin Thomas at 8.5K for my GPP guy. I think that he has much more upside and a lower floor as well, noted by his double bogey to miss the cut a couple weeks ago. But he's coming off of back-to-back cuts, which should keep his ownership pretty low. I thought he was a great play 2 weeks ago, and he was only owned like 11%. I expect that number to be even lower this week.
Yeah, that double bogey hurt a lot of folks on his last hole, 36th hole on Friday a couple weeks back. And if you want to take the balanced approach to lineup building this week, I think there's an interesting case to be made for a lot of these guys. I don't have all the data in front of me, but I know Andy Sullivan's been playing fairly well in Europe lately. I saw him at the top of a couple of leaderboards. I don't think he won a tournament, but some top 5 finishes. He's there at 8,400. I think he'll get overlooked amongst the masses this week.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, Sullivan, he was leading the last tournament he was playing in, and then on the final round, towards the very end, sort of sliced it into an area in which no one could find his ball. And so he had to sort of bite the bullet 10 minutes after looking for the ball, take a ride back to the tee and tee up again, and then after that, they found his ball. And so, yeah, he dropped considerably. He came second when he was leading, so I don't know if that is something to take out of it, that he was leading that tournament and ended up screwing up towards the end and coming second. So if you're pivoting off Kuchar for a GPP play, Justin Thomas and Andy Sullivan both fall into the same category as basically screwing up to either miss the cut or miss coming first. So but Sullivan has screwed me in the past, so I'm a bit shy of him at the moment. So
I forget what he did in one tournament last year. He got like a 2-stroke penalty or at least a 1-stroke penalty when he was on the green of one tournament, and that hurt a lot of people. I wish I remembered exactly what the circumstance was there. It's completely irrelevant, but a lot of people remember that transpiring. There's other guys here. I mean, Harris English, the guy I put in the video this week, a solid all-around guy. Maybe another guy that's probably good for your cash games this week. Made the cut all 3 times he's played here. He's got a top 10. Kevin Na's price is interesting at 8K, but his course history is horrendous. So, it'll be interesting to see how many people are on him this week. Thoughts on the other guys in that range there, Gibb?
I like Harris English in terms of players who've played this course 3 or more times. He's 14th in the all-time pre-cut scoring average for this course. So he could be, I won't say he's a lock to make the cut because no one is ever a lock to make the cut, but he does pretty well in the first 2 rounds. And with scoring really tight this week, you're going to need all 6 players to cash in a GPP. So Harris English is a good play for me. Kevin Na, interestingly enough, he has a better course history in terms of made cut percentage than Bubba Watson, which obviously, though, Bubba is boom or bust and Kevin Na isn't. But I like the person right below Kevin Na, and that's Freddie Jacobson. 2 straight 4th place finishes. Great scrambler, one of the best scramblers on tour, and when you consider the greens are the hardest to hit last year, there was no other greens harder to hit than this course last year, and you need a great scrambler. He's done pretty well. The 2 hardest greens to putt on so far this season within 10 feet, Torrey Pines and Pebble Beach, and he just happened to come 4th in one of those. So I do like him. I'm pretty sure he came 4th at Torrey Pines as well. So his top 4s in a row could have been Torrey Pines and Pebble Beach, which have been
He's playing well.
2 hardest greens to putt on. So this season, I like him at that price.
What are your thoughts kind of on that high 7K, low 8K range there, Brian?
I like Brendan Steele for a cash game play. He's been quietly doing Man of Steel-like things. He's got a 14th and a 10th here in the last couple of years, which is pretty nice. Course history is, just making cuts, doing things. He's 46 and a 69th also here. I like Harris English for GPPs again. I think he, consistently goes forgotten about. He's in excellent form. Nice showing at Torrey Pines, nice showing at the Waste Management Open, and this course is corollary to those as well. He got a week off last week, and he's got decent course history, 30th and a 10th and a 51st. So that's probably my favorite play out of the bunch there. And Kevin Na comes up on my list again just because he's so good at gaining strokes tee to green. I wonder what his ownership's going to be. He's traditionally popular, but he had that blow up on Saturday to miss the cut straight out. And like you said, Justin, his course history just isn't that good here.
Yeah, I don't have a good read on him. He didn't play well last week after his first round, which was on the easier course. And now you look at the cheap price tag, which I think will draw some people in. I don't know. I had no idea, really. I could see any level of ownership on Kevin Na. It wouldn't really surprise me if he was 8% or 12% or 16%. I mean, I don't think you'll see him in the 20s or anything, but you could see, varying levels of ownership between 5 and 15% on him this week. Lots of other decent golfers. I mean, we mentioned how deep this field is, and that's how you get kind of mid 7K price tags for guys like Keegan Bradley and Charles Howell and Mahan, Gary Woodland, who's been in contention in some events lately. Again, if you're taking the balanced approach, you can get a lot of guys in here. If you like distance off the tee, I mean, all those guys would qualify as potential good plays here. Gibb, who's kind of sticking out to you in the mid 7Ks this week?
Mid 7Ks, I like Danny Lee. He's done nothing wrong to sort of warrant being down this far. I mean, he's had some pretty decent form since the President's Cup. Keegan Bradley, he's done some good. I really hate saying that out loud, but yeah, I can't fault him. Matt Jones, 3 for 3 picking the cut at this tournament, and he is coming off some pretty good form of late. And Luke Donald, since he decided, hey, I am not going to try and outpower courses, and that I'm going to go back to what Luke Donald does, it's got my interest there. So, I mean, and he's always one of the better scramblers on tour for a long time. He was ranked #1 in the world for a reason because of his short game, and he sort of tried to go to a different approach and try and outpower things, and that's when everything went south for him. And then that's when he's decided, you know what, I got to get back to what I do best. And since then, he's sort of made gradual increases, so that intrigues me a little bit because I think he'll be low owned.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't think he'll be that highly owned. Yeah, you look at his current form. He had a decent tournament last time out. 26 at Pebble Beach last week. Faded a little bit on Sunday, but nothing I think that's going to grab a ton of people's attention. Brian, what are your thoughts here on this kind of interesting range of 7K golfers?
Well, we'll just get Will Wilcox out of the way at 7.3K. I think it's pretty safe to say that he's returning to the form that made us fall in love with him last year. He was still only like 12% owned last week. And
that surprised me. I expected higher.
I expected higher too, but I'll take it. He only had a 35th place finish, so I don't expect that number to grow too much. He's pretty much where I'm going to start my lineups. As far as differentiation goes, I really like Keegan Bradley at 7.8K. He had a nice 24th at Waste Management. It could have been a top 10 finish. He was on the leaderboard for a while, but he fell apart on Sunday. He's got great course history here with a 4th 20, a 16th, and a 2nd in the last 4 years. And then last time we talked about him a couple weeks ago, we talked about his, moving to the short putter, and I found an interview from him over a year ago, like 13 months ago, where he just swore up and down that I'm done with the anchored putter, I swear. And I mean, he basically played most of last year with the short putter, so I'm not worried about him in the long putter at all. And I think he's a steal at 7.8K, and people still hate him. Like, he is going really under-owned. He was like 4-something% at the Waste Management Open, so I like him a bunch. I think Strab at 7.5K is going to go pretty overlooked. He's only played here twice. He's been cut twice here. His form is average. I don't love him, but he's got the stats for this course, and I'm just going to follow the sheet on him and have a little exposure there. And then at 7.4K, I think Tony Finau and Graham DeLotte are both interesting plays. I like DeLotte more as a GPP play. He's going to be really low owned. He's got nice history at this course, but really poor form. So is this going to be where he finally puts it back together, or is he going to suck again? And I expect Finau to be rather popular this week.
DeLotte's 70th in his course history was because of the Olympics. Was just for the record. This was the tournament in which he decided, like, he tweeted out, these tee times do not help watching Canadian hockey.
All right, so his course history is even gooder.
Yeah, it's even better then, mate. I was really on him when he I was on him 100% for that tournament because he was coming a second, and I was on him, and then bang, 70th. And then I saw the tweet, and I was like, you prick.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you, but I saw the a Twitter conversation this morning, and I saw this name on Brian's list, so I had to read it since and I pulled it up on my phone because the internet's a little bit spotty with Hangouts. But Daniel Berger, interesting name. He's a guy that a lot of people like to take. He's cheap. He doesn't have his clubs right now. JetBlue has lost his bags. And Daniel Berger is not happy that JetBlue has lost his bags. He says it's been he tweeted to JetBlue, been 2 days since you lost my bags. Supposed to play in this PGA Tour event called the Northern Trust Open. Have you ever heard of it? Need my clubs ASAP. And then they sent some random response to him, and he said, good talk. And he says, your baggage office has no idea where my bags are. Do you lose a lot of bags on direct flights? They said some spiel about giving them his confirmation code, and he said, well, why don't you help and find someone who can find them? That was yesterday. As far as I know, Daniel Berger still doesn't have his golf clubs, which could present the problem come Thursday. Just a tidbit, if you're on him, you may want to consider keeping track to see if he gets his golf clubs by the time his tee time arrives on Thursday. So that's Daniel Berger. Circle back to you, Gibb. Anybody in this kind of range here of big name golfers that have been popular in the past that we may have missed?
What price range are we looking at here?
No, 7. Anybody else in the 7s, mid 7s, low 7s?
I like KJ Choi. I like KJ Choi's 15 cuts made from 15 attempts. That's pretty solid. Back in 2014, he came second at the Farmers, just like this year, Then he made the cut at the Waste Management, just like this year. Then he missed the cut at Pebble Beach, just like this year, and then he came 12th at Northern Trust. So, I mean, I'm not saying that he's a lock-in for a 12th place finish, but, I mean, he's hasn't missed a cut here before, so he's pretty low priced. I don't think many people will be on him unless they look at the past history here and think, oh, 15 for 15, got to take that. But, you know, that's something that's, you know, for that price, 7-1, why not? I mean, throw him on a few GPP teams and go on to the next player. So, I mean, it's not like he's missing these clubs at all. So, you know, he's got one up on someone near him. Soo Kim, he's been playing pretty well. He's established residence in LA. So he is, quasi, semi LA boy, maybe? And, Cameron Tringali, another guy, LA boy, 5 for 5, making the cuts, a 12th, 3 20th places, and a 49th in his only 5 trips to this tournament, only lives an hour away. I do like him a lot as well.
Plenty of names in here. Obviously, James Hahn, we didn't even mention, is the defending champ. He's a guy who was popular last week, very popular, and didn't make the cut, didn't really play well at all, so he might be under-owned this weekend. Of course, is the defending champ, so obviously worth a mention. Patrick Rogers is a guy I really like this week. 5th on tour, strokes gained tee to green. A guy who burned a few people a couple weeks back. I think he'll go a little bit overlooked this week, but he's long off the tee, and I think statistically this course sets up pretty well for him if he can handle the green. So I think Patrick Rogers is an interesting play at 7.3K this week. We're past our normal end time, but we did start quite a bit late, so we'll go through some sleeper picks here before we get off the air. Under 7K or at 7K, right around there, and your sleepers for the week. Brian, who are you liking as your low-cost options?
I want to mention Siwoo Kim at 7.1K. The kid's stretch continues. We expected him to regress a little bit last week, and he proved us wrong. He was actually.
Yeah, I won't talk you off the ledge this time.
Yeah. I think it is worth getting on board with him again. Chris Kirk pings my radar a little bit at 7K. Nothing exciting, but I think he's a flyer. Same with Charlie Hoffman at 6.9K. And let's talk about Vaughn Taylor for realsies this week. All right, like 6.8K. This course sets up a lot like Pebble Beach. Small green, so you're targeting a guy with proximity. Roughy rough, so you're targeting a guy who scrambles. You want a guy with driving distance, and you want a guy who can score on par 5s, and that's what attracted me to Vaughn Taylor last week, and now his form is a lot better. So is he going to be super under-owned again, or is he going to be the new shiny object?
Yes. It's a great question, and then you throw in the fact, I mean, how's he going to play off a win? Did he, is he partying it up right now? I don't know. I mean, he's been on tour.
He's doing it Vaughn Taylor style.
Yeah. Well, that gives you nice visions. But, I mean, he's got a family and a young daughter, and does he just keep on trucking? I mean, nice, cool $1.3 million check last week and keep on going. I don't know. 6,800. I mean, he's still basically the same price that he was last week. That might be the price that he was last week. I don't know.
The last time he won was the Rio Tahoe Open, and he came 12th the next week after that.
But that was what, 11 years ago?
2005, man.
Yeah, it's 11 years ago.
It's a walk in the park.
I think he'll be somewhat popular, especially given the fact that a lot of people don't know these value names. I mean, this is a pretty strong field, and people aren't going to go after a lot of the super cheap guys, and you don't really have a ton, I guess, of value that stands out kind of under 7K. So I think people will go after Vaughn Taylor again this week. At least those that followed the tournament. And there's some. That's not to say that there's nobody else down there that you could take, but I don't know. Anybody else you got for sleepers, Brian? And then I'll circle over to Gibb.
Yeah, I've got a super sleeper, a guy whose name I had never seen before until today. It's JJ Spawn at 6.3K, so I did some digging up on this guy. 309 yards off the tee, almost 70% greens in regulation. He gains a stroke tee to green, averages 4.25 birdies per round. He's from Los Angeles. He's got a proximity of 26 feet. which is really good. If that was a PGA Tour stat, it'd be number 1 overall, but greens don't move. He's really good at getting it close to the pin. And Web.com grad guy. I'm not sure why he's in this field, but I think he could be this week's Vaughn Taylor.
Hot take. JJ Spawn at 6.3K. Gibb, can you see that JJ Spawn and raise it with a Gibb pick of the week?
Well, I don't have a spawn. You know, I didn't know we're going spawning off. Like, yeah.
It was yes, I got it. Great pun.
Yeah. I feel like I've been devoed. Yeah.
We've rendered Gibb speechless. February 16th.
No, well, I like Adam Hadwin at 6'9". He's got some decent course form. By decent course form, he's played here once and he came 22nd. He's got some decent recent form, I should say. I do like a little bit, not too much, but Jamie Donaldson, I think he's pretty low in the price range for his talent. He's ranked 51st in the world, yet he's priced 68th in this field. He's never played here before, so he's an unknown quantity at this course, so obviously that puts him into GPP categories.
Did you know that he missed, I just opened up his thing on DraftKings.
2 consecutive cuts.
He had to withdraw from the Abu Dhabi tournament in January because of a freak incident where he sustained a cut to his left hand via a chainsaw.
Oh, that's right. Well, just what I just said.
They had to stitch his left pinky. I mean, he played in Omega Dubai Desert Classic.
And he missed the cut. Okay, scratch everything I just said. Thank you, Justin, for reminding me of that.
Chainsaw that. Go ahead and chainsaw
Charlie.
Jamie Donaldson recommendation here.
Chainsaw
No.
Charlie.
Hey.
Yeah, hey,
never
thanks
know.
for picking me up on that one. Cameron Smith, he's coming off a pretty decent event last week, so got my interest there a little bit. And this is not for this tournament, but the man of the hour on Friday last week, Sung Kang. Little did I know that since Jim Furyk is not playing for the next 3 months, that he now has Jim Furyk's caddy. So going forward, if you see Sung Kang in the field, he has a very top-notch caddy at his disposal. So that is very interesting going forward. He's not in this field, but I just wanted to get that out there while I'm thinking about it. So for future references, that could be interesting. What do you think Freddie Couples' ownership's going to be?
2.
Non-existent.
Really? He was very popular last year.
He's jumped the shark.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not picking.
I have a buddy who takes Fred Couples on a DFS team at the Masters every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year takes him only at the Masters, obviously, with his he's got some course history there, you could say, but I don't think it's worth it for this event. I don't know.
Also, there's 2 other players down near JJ Spawn that's sort of interesting or intriguing. Peter, you know how to pronounce it better than I do. I want to call it Malak, but I've seen Hunger Games too much. Maladi? Yeah. Okay, so this guy is ranked 162nd in fairway accuracy and then leads Pebble Beach last week in fairway accuracy. So obviously he's got something together where he's hitting the fairways. And he's a great putter, really good putter. So if he can get the ball on the green, then he has some sort of advantage over the field. Also, Tyrone van Aswagen. He's only missed 1 cut all season. Pro Green, South African. Why not? It's GPP time, fellas. So 6'3", he could be a nice flyer there. Greg Owen's birthday this week, guys. Do we put much stock into that?
I only play golfers on their bobblehead weekend.
Did he come in 5th last week?
He didn't come in 5th. He did come in 5th a couple of weeks ago, and he missed the cut the following week.
Oh, no. You're throwing the whole system to pot.
Yeah.
No interest. He's 6,200. He's cheap. I'll give him that. Other than that, not much. That's about it for this week. We've covered a lot of guys. I'll save Brian from mentioning the last name on his list, so that he doesn't have to be ridiculed. And we don't want to talk about any more Australians anyway. With that, it's been a fun show. Hopefully, the Google Hangouts worked well enough for you to keep track. Brian may or may not roster Stephen Bowditch on a team this week. We'll see. So for that, for Brian, for Gibb, I'm Justin. Have a great week, everybody. We will see you next week, and good luck in all your contests.